Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Bromford and Hodge Hill Ward Forum meeting of 19th of December 2022. I must remind everybody that this meeting is being recorded for subsequent live webcast on the Birmingham City Council's website. Would you all please keep your microphones off during the broadcast? If you wish to ask a question, please raise your hand using the reactions that are at the top of the toolbar. If you can't find those, just you could raise your hand in the meeting, and then I'll come to you after the presentation, and then can take questions and answers. Right, with that, we've got a representative from the police today, George Lely. So he's going to give us an update on the policing in Bromford and Hodge Hill, and then we'll take questions and answers afterwards. Thank you, George.
Hi there, yeah, so I'm George, currently on the Chardin neighbourhood team. I previously worked on Hodge Hill on Sergeant Keynes's team. So just whilst being obviously on the Hodge Hill team, a lot of, different types of crime, which, we went out to, we investigated. We have sort of our main hotspot areas regarding traffic offences, which was predominantly around Washwood Heath Road, just along Ward End as well, St Margaret's Road.
That's George. That's in the Ward End ward. So
sorry,
our ward is Bromford Lane, towards Chardin.
Yeah. So we do different operations along on different hotspot areas on our ward. High visibility op intrusive, we call it, where we'll focus on sort of flooding the area for 2 to 3 hours, and just providing a sort of reassurance to it's more of a community engagement, where obviously the Bromford, we've got the shops, the row of shops on the Bromford Road. We've also obviously encountered some youths, ASBs. There were incidents where I've obviously interacted with
that Bromford Drive.
Bromford Drive. Sorry, yeah, I think it was along Drink Busters, and
they've since closed.
Yeah, there's just along Hodge Hill as well. Whilst I've been on this Chardin team, there's been a spate of burglaries as well, just along further from Bromford Drive, going onto the road on Hodge Hill School. I think last week we had 3 or 4, which were predominantly between the times of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. What we'll do is obviously response will go out to it, because a lot of the times it'll be when we're off duty, and obviously the next day we'll be made aware, and we'll have to conduct further inquiries, reassurance visits, any CCTV house to house. But that's that's a big thing. Burglaries, vehicle crime. We've got an operation up Cllr, which is looking at burglary, vehicle crime, and just providing sort of the best outcome for members of the public, reassuring victims of crime, and yeah, also using our Twitter as engagement to provide words of advice regarding keeping our vehicles secure at all times, our houses. If we're not in, obviously leaving a tight timer light, anything like that, or just sort of general tips and advice on how to keep their property and vehicle secure. I'm aware there is a schools officer on the Hodge Hill team. I think it's Hayley. I think She started after I'd left, so obviously I had no sort of dealings or spoke to her about it. But from speaking with Sergeant Keynes, yeah, I think she's the designated schools officer, and she's linking in with the PCSOs to see what can be done around school visits and just engagement, whether that be through road safety talks, knife crime inputs, and things like that.
Fine. Regarding the burglaries, residents have come back to us about these burglaries on Hodge Hill Common, I believe they are.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Can we have some more police presence in the area?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Of a night time.
Yeah. I'm sure obviously Sergeant Keynes will be aware of that, but it's just obviously from when they've been off and Shardend have been on, we've obviously heard it over the radio. Burglaries in progress, obviously on the Hodge Hill patch. Obviously we've gone out to support response with a few of them, but it does seem to be I don't know, it seems to be a hotspot area for criminals at the moment. That those sort of houses along Hodge Hill Common and also on the Bromford are currently being targeted, but that's something I'll definitely feed back to him. Yeah.
And what localities on the Bromford? I'm not aware of those.
I can't tell you. Well, it's is it Bromford Drive, I believe,
Okay.
where the school is as well. Just is that
Tame Valley School.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Just along there, and obviously on the common, the houses along there. There's been a few, and I think it's something. The criminals there. It's not just one house they're targeting. So they've done. They've gone for one, and then they'll try to do another.
Elaine's raised her hand. Can I just ask? She may want to come in on this.
Yeah.
Elaine.
We had an incident over the weekend with a gang of lads outside Ambridge. A couple of the residents did call the police and report it.
Yeah.
We don't quite know what they were doing, but I know it has been reported by the police, and this was early hours of Saturday night, Sunday morning.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Elaine. Yeah, they do get a lot of groups of youth congregating, especially at the back of the garages, off the car park there.
Yeah, that's it. Because obviously we'll link. Obviously Sergeant Keynes' team, they'll link that in with op intrusive. So burglaries is obviously it's a very serious offence. It's it's very intrusive. It's personal. Obviously coming into someone's home, and it leaves quite a very negative, traumatic experience for families and individuals. So I'm going to try and link in with him and see what has been done around any potential nominals they've got in mind. Because obviously if we see individuals of interest who could potentially be involved, it's seeing have we got grounds to obviously to stop them. It's obviously interacting with them, but it's also what can we do to prevent it, rather than just being sort of reactive, and having to attend these incidents after, whether a lot, like I said, sometimes we are off duty because they are happening in early hours of the morning. Can we obviously put in for more overtime where we do these patrols or planned operations? A mix of sort of plain cars, spotters, and uniformed police to just flood the area and just see if we can tackle these issues.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Other crimes that are very big in the ward is speeding. A lot of people have come back to me on speeding. Councillor Mahmood's got his hand up. bring Councillor Moody.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, just a couple of issues I wanted to pick up. First is to support the chair in relation to Hodge Common. We have had an email from residents who are really worried about the spate of burglaries. There's been 3 over a short period of time, and they are asking for more visibility around the common, because especially during these winter during the winter, it is really dark there. And we actually presented a petition to upgrade the street lighting as well on the common. That's not happened, but this current state of criminality that's taking place, that will add weight to the fact that that does need to be expedited. The second thing is we get lots of you mentioned the schools. The schools have been really helpful in sending letters out to parents, asking them not to inconsiderately park. And I'm talking specifically around the schools around the Hodge campus. So you've got Hodge Primary, Hodge Girls, Hodge College, and Braidwood Special School. And I know there was an incident as well a few weeks back where a child was knocked over. More needs to be done, because many years ago, before austerity kicked in and the number of police were reduced in the ward, we used to have approximately 600, I believe, in the constituency, is reduced significantly to around 100. Probably in time it's even less than that now. We used to have a dedicated schools officer. I think her name was Cllr, and she was brilliant. So in the morning and in the afternoon, she used to patrol around the 4 school campus and prevent any inconsiderate parking that was taking place. We've done some work. We've invested with pedestrian handrails. We've raised the curbs as well, making it more difficult for people to park. But it's still happening around Twycross Grove, Stanlake Avenue, and Bromford Road. So when the schools return in January, surely once every fortnight, and that's not asking for much. We need to have some police there ticketing those people who are parking inconsiderately. There's even an ice cream man that parks on the Bromford Road just opposite the school entrance, which makes it difficult for people to turn left and right because the visibility is obscured. And again, they're messing up the grass verges. Just wondering if you can speak to Sergeant Alan Keynes, and we can email him separately as well to see if we can bring about more visibility to both on the Hodge Common and also around the schools. Also, First Primary, I've been approached by some parents there as well, saying that there's inconsiderate parking there, and St Wilfrid. So basically, all the schools. The only one I've not had any complaints about have been Tame Valley, but we do need have some dedicated neighbourhood officers to patrol around those parts during school time. I've got some other issues to raise, Diane. I'll just let George.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is obviously quite another sort of big issue is obviously the issues of parking. It's where they're obviously causing obstructions to the Pelican Crossing, parking on the zigzags, and like you said, it's going to just be a matter of time now, before another serious sort of accident occurs, and it's we obviously don't want it to get to that stage. Like I said, I will speak to Sergeant Keynes to see exactly what is being done around, officers on foot patrol on those specific times after school. And just, it should be a zero sort of tolerance approach, I think, because obviously we do use discretion, but with things like this, it's not acceptable. It's causing a clear obstruction. It's a hazard to other road users, and there's children that sort of cross from both sides, and it just causes havoc, really. I have seen that ice cream van as well. Is that opposite Hodge Hill? Is it Hodge Hill Girls' School? Is it, or is it?
Yeah, it's the entrance to Hodge Hill Girls, right opposite, and people that live there, they're really annoyed as well because they've passed to us as a council, and I've spoken to the officer, and they're saying it's a policing matter because it's causing an obstruction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course. We like I said, there is a schools officer. I believe her name's Hayley. from speaking with Sarge, I think it is Hayley. She's recently joined the team, but it needs to be first, I think, a combination of obviously her going into the schools, maybe with the PCSO, and showing PowerPoints or presentations on road safety. And I think, if I'm honest, some of it needs to be it needs to be in a certain way where it's obviously given across the correct message, but some of it I think needs to be quite what's the word I'm looking for? Sort of it needs to be the raw reality of things, of how these issues can arise into a serious accident ultimately, because that is what that's what it's going to obviously lead up to. And yeah, speaking with parents, I think obviously the issue is, I think, because it's so, it seems like there's so many cars there. I mean, where obviously the additional spaces, where are alternative places to park, because it just seems so, common for so many cars to park there. That is there, where would they sort of, where would they park, is there additional spaces outside the school, or?
There's no spaces, but they shouldn't really be parking there. And if we,
No, that's what, yeah. So I mean, it's
you're not going to make provision for an ice cream van outside the school. That doesn't sit well with the healthy regime of the school as well. So, but actually, doesn't it? I mean, they need to be told quite robustly that where they're parking, not only is it damaging the grass verges, it's also dangerous when they bring the vehicle onto the pavement, because there could be a child next to them. So there's a hazard. And also when the drivers are coming up from Brockhurst Road onto Bromford Road, it also obscures their visibility. So again, that can cause an additional problem. So there's a number of issues there. And obviously, if they've got a license to sell, I'm assuming they don't. Yeah, but for the ice cream van to operate, then action does need to be taken. I don't want to take away someone's livelihood, but they should take into account where's best and where is the safest place for them to park.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and obviously the issue again is, if I've seen it myself. A lot of the school kids, they will obviously go over to the ice cream van, and a lot of them obviously with their parents, and that's just setting the wrong message completely, because it's almost being accepted now that that's where they park. And but obviously we've obviously got residents which are unhappy, but I think the parents need to be sort of given sort of a stern sort of a stern warning, or just spoken to formally. I think just that it's they need to either obviously find alternative parking places, whether that just be a few streets away, because it's obviously not acceptable. But yes, I'll obviously link in with Sergeant Keynes. I'm sure I think their team will be putting something together, because obviously that is a big issue. Part of op intrusive, whether they focus on that hotspot first, after or during, just before school's over, and just high visibility around the area. That's something that I'll definitely raise.
And the other things, Chair, I wanted to raise was, again, around motoring. So we get lots of vehicles that are just parked up, which have been parked up for weeks, months even, and they've got no MOT or they've got no road tax, and we just basically want them moved on, because they're occupying parking spaces for residents. And speeding, as the Chair said, it's still an issue. If we could have more speed watch exercises during the daytime and involve some of the community groups as well. And the final was around having a pop-up police station. It happens in Castle Vale and other areas, and just wondering if there's any capacity within the Hodge team, if we could have a pop-up station, ideally one in Hodge itself and one in the Bromford, so that we can speak to residents who ordinarily wouldn't or would just not be in a position to contact the police, so we can bring the police into them. And the final one is declare an interest because I live on Primley Avenue. We had a petition presented to us over a year ago, again with cars parked on the bottom of the road, on the junction with Veterinary Avenue, where the cars are
We've lost council.
parked on the pavement, and it's similar problem to the ice cream van that's parked on the Bromford road. It makes it extremely difficult for if some action can be taken where we can ticket parked on the pavement, which are making it difficult for people to have the visibility to drive safe. Thank you.
Could we arrange a street watch around this? Or
sorry, yes. Could you just give 2 secs? Sorry.
certainly. I think probably that's the best way, is to have a street watch and a speed watch that we do with local community groups, and set those up at regular intervals during the year.
It'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Time being.
Yeah.
I'm sure there used to be years ago. There used to be a proper police station at Hodge School. That building by the gate. I'm sure years ago when they used to have issues, there used to be a proper police station there. When I was younger, it took how many years? Yeah.
So
I was going to say, Lane, what was that?
Too many years.
Because I don't remember.
I don't know.
I've lived here for 22 years. I don't remember it.
Imagine I've been here 52. This is so.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's just a young whippersnapper.
We've had very small. Had a few issues locally, and they just opened it up. There was so many couple of days a week as a proper police station.
Just think of locations, maybe outside Tesco's, something like that.
There.
Oh, I think the location Lane has mentioned is probably better because
Tesco,
the problem you've got, you're going to capture people coming from Shardenne, Warden, Allen Rock, who aren't necessarily residents of Bromford and Hodge Hill. So we want it for Bromford and Hodge Hill. We tried what we had one kind of with
outside the hub,
Leah,
that wasn't very well attended at all.
We tried that.
That's it. Yeah, I've just got off the phone now. Sorry.
Oh, I think we've got George back now.
Yeah. So regarding obviously, firstly, no untaxed vehicles, no MOT. I think that is something. If I have to say, the team do really try and obviously clamp down on, because obviously from our Twitter, we do see a lot of cars for no tax, no MOT, and obviously other offences, no insurance, because there just seems to be so many vehicles which aren't taxed. Obviously, we're just not we're not getting around to obviously all of them, but that obviously is something I can definitely say that Hodge Hill are trying to clamp down on. That obviously, yeah, I mean, it's speed, motoring offences, traffic offences, speeding. I think we did speed operations when I was on Hodge Hill. It was on the Washwood Heath Road.
Yeah, that's in Ward End. That's in Ward End. That's not in our. In Bromford and Hodge Hill, especially in Hodge Hill, there's a few roads that are particularly affected, like Brockhurst Road, some of the main arterial roads, and it's mainly cars with those very loud exhausts.
Right. Yeah, like sort of sports exhausts.
And they're driving extremely fast. I
take it is obviously Sergeant Keynes aware of this, or?
Yeah, it has been. It's been reported. Yeah.
I mean, occasions. Whether I can obviously feed that back to them regarding speed watches.
Yes, if we could commit to do maybe a bi-monthly speed watch.
Yes.
Targeting different roads in the ward.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I'll obviously mention to him, and obviously the pop-up police stations as well.
Yeah.
And obviously ourselves, Shard End, we've done a few in the last few weeks. That's also something I'll obviously feed back to him. Is there any sort of specific locations where you'd obviously like us to do that?
Yeah,
Down Bromford, was it, or?
we've been discussing that outside the schools on Bromford Road,
Yeah.
and maybe on the Firs, perhaps outside.
We hold one in
schools.
Ambridge House.
Yeah, we ran a couple, and they were
Yeah.
quite really
They
well
were quite
attended.
well attended, weren't they?
Okay.
And Ambridge House. So maybe one on the Firs outside the school, and then one in Ambridge House. That's 3
Outside
locations
the girls' school. Okay.
outside the girls' school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bi-monthly,
A monthly thing.
possibly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Sorry, I think that's definitely something, we don't want to sort of make this, just a one-off where it's just
No.
something, what we do, it needs to be consistent, for that community engagement, and also, for members of the public to see, that, the police are aware, of these issues, and it's not something where we just attend as a one-off and sort of that's it sort of gets forgotten about, because then obviously, the parents, whoever's obviously just sort of responsible for, parking or wherever, they're just going to see it, well, the police aren't sort of here, so, I'm just going to sort of revert back, to parking there. There's no sort of deterrent, but I think it comes from firstly engaging with the community, educating and informing them, of the seriousness that that this can cause, how it can lead up to potentially the worst situations where there is a major sort of accident because road users' vision's obviously obstructed from these parked cars. But that is definitely something that I'll feed back as a monthly pop-up and a speed watch operation. Yes.
Fine. Okay. Is that something we could get the ball rolling on sort of in the new year, in January, maybe mid to end of January?
Mid to end of January. Okay.
Well, I'll do,
Elaine,
Diane, I'll talk to Steve tomorrow and get him put some provisional dates in so he's aware of it.
okay, that's great. Thanks. Majid?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I was gonna raise this anyway during the if we could have, and if George, you can feed this back to, and if we can have one pop-up police station every 2 months or even a month, but I'm aware of the capacity, a lack of capacity with the police, but one every 2 months, we can advertise those locations, and then there wouldn't be a need for us to invite the police to the ward forums. So, because obviously I know it's difficult for you guys to make this shift evening, and most of in fact, all our ward forums have been evening, although we are now considering some daytime ward forums as well. But I think if we could have one, obviously ask for one a month, but if we can't get one a month, one every 2 months, and we can advertise that using the city council resources, and we could have those pop-up stations across the ward. So, for example, you can have Ambridge House. You can also have towards Berendale Road, where you got Pillars Academy. You have one pop-up station there, one in the green space opposite the Hodge, the medical centre on Shaw's Road. You've got Bucklands End Lane. There's a church there. We could have it in the grounds there. Then you got outside the schools here, and you've also got Colburn Primary. So that as many people as possible within the ward can have walking distance coming towards that. Or another idea would be where we have a mobile house or recycling centre where we bring the trucks to the ward, which gives people an opportunity to dispose of their household waste and recycle waste. I think if we could, I mean, those all take place between 7 and 12, and I'm not saying come at 7, but if you could have, say, for example, close to where the location of the mobile house or recycling centre is, we can say 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. or 10 a.m. till 12 a.m. The police will also be in attendance. That way you get to speak to the people who are coming to use the truck. We can advertise it because we're advertising the locations of the trucks on our letters, but then we can also put on our letters that the police will also be in attendance. And those trucks, the way we've agreed the location of the officers, they're spread across the ward as well. So we would effectively be killing two birds with one stone. Thank you.
I think that's a good idea. A lot of people who would normally be reluctant just to go to an event that's solely for the police, if they go there, they're maybe more willing to engage. You know, they see other people. It might be might bring out some good information.
Yes, definitely. So that's yeah, that'll be relayed to him. You know, one pop-up station sort of every 2 months or every month, obviously, if we can. And I've obviously got the locations there. But I just, yeah.
We'll have a speed watch 1 month and then the pop-up, you know, alternate.
Speed watch on, what was it, on the Bromford Road?
Speed watch, there's several roads. Yeah, Bromford Road, Brockhurst Road, Ditchford Road.
Yeah.
Mainly the main arterial roads. I don't think Bromford Drive, although there is speeding on Bromford Drive, there are speed bumps which.
Yeah, it doesn't stop them dying.
No, no, it doesn't. All the roads, basically, the main roads.
Yeah, that's fine. I've made notes of that. That's fine. Yeah, and I think it's just like I said. Yeah, it's one of the, regarding obviously the traffic offences. I mean, that's clear cut, isn't it? If someone's parked on the zigzags, then, you know, really we shouldn't essentially use our discretion, because the offence is made out there, isn't it? But it's also, you know, it's a combination of having a formal, you know, these people need to be spoken to, you know, given a stern sort of words of advice. It's not acceptable, but linking it in again with community engagement, going into the schools, I think, more often when we can, setting up talks on road safety, and also, you know, having that operational side. If we can conduct, you know, extra traffic operations, speed watches, whether we can liaise obviously with our traffic units. I know obviously they're committed quite a lot of the time, but you know, it would be a great sort of yeah, I think I'm sure we'd get some great results if we, you know, we could get traffic in the area, because obviously regarding, you know, speeding, our powers are limited regarding neighbourhood officers. You know, if we're in vehicles, we're not going to be, you know, pursuing vehicles or anything like that. But yeah, regarding the actual, you know, offenders, you know, who are boy racing, causing antisocial behaviour with their very loud exhausts, that's definitely something, you know, we can link in with, liaise with traffic to try and set up those operations.
Yeah, that would be good. I'll send you a list of all the roads that are affected.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
I'll email those to you so we can sort of start the ball, and the locations that for the pop-up police surgeries, and the dates of the mobile household recycling centres and their locations. So maybe we can coordinate that. Should be brilliant. Okay. Any other questions for the police or George before?
Just a question on the Brockhurst Road sheltered housing scheme. I've not had in the last few weeks any complaints around drug dealing, ASB, or other associated criminality. Is there an update on that particular site, or has that all now quietened down?
Councillor, I wouldn't be able to comment on that, just because obviously I've had no sort of knowledge from Sergeant Keynes or the team regarding that issue. I mean, when I was on there, that wasn't sort of made aware to me. Could you just sort of summarize just what the main issue is? You said drug dealing and sort of.
Yeah, so we attended a residents meeting with the residents that live on the Brockus Road, and they mentioned a number of issues around drug dealing, antisocial behaviour emanating from one or two properties on Brockus Road, visitors to those properties, which are exempt housing. They're not HMOs because we objected to the planning for HMOs, but they're used as exempt housing properties. And they asked us to do some work around, even to the extent of putting up a fence on the Brockus Road, but we've left that with the officers at housing because it's a housing sheltered scheme. So you've got vulnerable residents that live there, hence why I'm asking if there has been a continuation of those issues. I've not heard anything now for a few weeks, so I'm assuming that that's now the people that were involved in the criminality have moved on elsewhere.
Hopefully, I've not heard anything either. No complaints. So fingers crossed they've moved on. Elaine,
Shall I talk to Steve and see if there's been any new issues? Because I think he's covering that scheme.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah, that's fine. But we've had none directed to us, so it's a good sign. All right. Thank you. And I don't think there are any more questions for the police. So, George, thank you for coming along this evening. We very much appreciate it. And we'll be in touch just so we can get these initiatives up and running in the new year. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks
very
much.
much.
Thank you, George.
Bye. Right. So the main agenda item is the ward plan. So I'm going to try and get the ward plan up onto the screen if I can, and then we'll go through it. It's a work in progress, so anything can be added into it. Let me just try and get the sure how to do this. Bev, do you know how I can get the
Yes, at the top of your screen, you've got the share. You've got a share. You've got an arrow
that's it. It's right.
pointing up.
I've just seen it now.
Yeah. Or if you send it to me, I can share it on the screen, whichever's easiest. Have you got it up now, Councillor?
Yeah, I've just got it.
Okay. Okay.
I can't see. Is it because I'm on the mobile?
I'm trying to find it. Got it. It was a blank one that I was getting off.
But we started off with the blank one, didn't we? No, we didn't. We continued from the previous.
Has that come up yet?
No, it's not.
No.
No,
Okay.
I can't see anything.
Okay.
Do you want to just go through them, then the five priorities?
Yeah,
I think
I'll just read it out.
Or if you send it across to me as well while you're reading it out, I can try and share it on the screen.
Okay.
So if you just pop it to me in an email, and then you can read it out as well, and I'll try and bring it up while you're doing that.
Right, send that over now. Okay, so
Okay,
there's
thanks.
the different priorities. So priority one is a bold, prosperous Bromford and Hodge Hill. Okay, so I've base that around the cost of living crisis. So because of the high levels of deprivation in the ward, the food and fuel poverty. So who will own this priority? I put down local elected members and local community groups. Which organisations and groups do we need to engage with and work with? So I put down food pantry, food banks, warm banks, and community lunch clubs. It says, what does good look like? And how will we know when we achieved our ambition? When local residents are being provided with the support they need, and when food and fuel poverty is eradicated in the ward. There are specifics around, so set up 3 clear, realistic goals that we want to achieve locally. So it has to be clear and well defined, measurable, with criteria for how progress will be measured, achievable, attainable and not impossible to achieve, realistic, within reach and relevant to your means and resources, and timely, with a clear timeline, including a target date. So I don't know if there's any criteria that anybody would like to add to that. It's very difficult to give a target date because there's so many things affecting the fuel and food crisis. It's a world phenomenon basically. So a lot of it is out of our control. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on this. That's something that we can put into the ward plan.
The main thing from our end as elected members is we want to make sure that we're giving as much information as possible to the local community groups to access funding. For example, the cost of living emergency crisis that we declared as a council, within that there's some funding available to food banks, £800, and I did approach Hodge Pantry to apply for that funding. And I think if that can be documented, that we can send the emails that we get to community groups so that they can leverage in as much funding as possible. I think that's really important. Yeah. And then secondly, around the household support fund, again, we want to make sure that people in Bromford and Hodge are able to access that fund. I know last time the fund was, I think it was an organisation in Smallheath that was managing it on behalf of the constituency, but I think it should be more localised so that people within, because I get on a daily basis, I get emails and telephone calls from people around primarily Bromford and Firs who are trying to access funding because they're living on a day-to-day basis now, unfortunately, because of the cost of living crisis with fuel bills going through the roof. And even, it's been mentioned about food prices going up really high. And I think, again, we also need to give the relevant information, use all of our organisations, for example, even Ambridge House, to ensure that we've got the notice board there, that we put on all the details there, so that people can, we act as facilitators effectively.
Yeah, we'll put it on our
or the local community
on our Facebook page as well, with links to funding that's available. I noticed that other people have copied other people in, so there is an active, people are aware of it and they're actively circulating that information between themselves. So that's good, positive.
With some notice up at Ambridge, and I am aware that the pantry have, and the The pantry and the church house have made applications for funding. So I am aware that's going on at the moment.
Just hold it a minute, you're really ready to finish it, okay?
Oh, thanks, Beth. Right. So that's the bold, inclusive Bromford and Hodge Hill.
Councillor, can you see priority 2, regeneration of Bromford? Do you want to?
Yeah, that's
You
it.
want to
Thank
touch
you.
on
I was
that?
trying to scroll it down.
Yeah.
myself.
Oh, yeah. So just yeah, I've got it on
Yeah.
the screen now. So
All right,
I've
thanks,
scrolled it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's there now.
Right. So priority 2, a bold, inclusive Bromford and Hodge Hill. So this is around the regeneration of Bromford. So as we're all aware, the housing in Bromford and Firs is in poor condition and is in need of upgrading and retrofitting to, especially to combat the fuel poverty. So this will be achieved by the triple glazing, the heat pumps, the cladding on the front of the building, so insulation. The whole of the buildings will be insulated, so that people will have warm houses, and this will cut down on their bills. So the initial pilot scheme is 300 properties. So that's something we want to see get up and running as soon as possible. The other is the 225 approximately new properties that are planned to be built over the next few years on Bromford to address the lack of family housing, and these will be mainly family housing. So it's taking longer than expected, but we will see the first houses next year being ready. I should say about spring, summertime, ready to be occupied. So who will own this priority? So this is a joint work between Birmingham City Council and the Birmingham Municipal Housing Trust, the Environmental Agency who are building the flood defence scheme, which was needed because without that, Birmingham City Council couldn't get the funding necessary to build the houses. Equans, who are carrying out the retrofitting, the renovation of Jordan House, the local community and local elected members. So which organisations and groups do we need to engage with or work with? But mainly local community groups and residents. And what does good look like? When all 300 properties on the pilot have been upgraded and all the new properties have been built, but that is going to take, so with the measurable, achievable, realistic timeline, we can put some target dates down, but you know, they are affected, as we can see with the building, there's external factors that are affecting the building, like supply of materials, supply of labour. It's all having a big negative impact on the timescales. And for example, the supply of electrical cables, we're at the mercy of outside organisations, but there has to be a planning process. So it's very bureaucratic, and if one deadline is missed, then it knocks everything out of kilter. So it's very difficult to put. We can put a target date, but it has to be realistic. Is there anything anyone would like to add into that before we move on?
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
the headline should be regeneration of Bromford and Firs, because part of the work is around Berrendale Road. So there's extensive, consultation going to take place around the work, and also you've got the retrofitting. That's all around the Firs, because The way I describe the Firs is the left-hand side of Chipperfield Road, unless I'm mistaken, but that's how I describe the Firs.
Oh, I just describe it as the right because when I'm going down Chipperfield. Depends which way you're going.
Diane. Sorry, Diane. Can it's possible to have a copy of this in email? I'm trying to take notes, but I'm not keeping up.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
If you send
Okay,
it, if you send
sorry?
it to Elaine now, if you send the email to Elaine now, she can have a look at it while it's on the screen, so you won't have to read through all of it.
Thank you.
Elaine, the meeting's also being recorded, so once I actually put this on the YouTube channel, the recording will be there as well, so you can always go back if you really wanted to and have a look as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very
Okay, so don't worry about taking notes. Okay.
much. Thank you for that.
I can send that to you. I'll send it to you after because I can't remember your email address.
So, okay, don't worry, but thank you for that.
Do you want me to move on to the next priority, Councillor?
Please.
Which is road safety, legal parking, ASB.
That's it. So mainly, basically, what we went through earlier with the with George. So who will? So this has been based on concerns raised by local residents who will own the priority. But police, street watch, residents groups, councillors, elected members. And what will good look like? Well, a noticeable decrease in speeding and illegal parking on local roads. So the plan is for regular speed watch patrols throughout the ward in conjunction with the local police. Is it achievable? Yes. Is it realistic? Yes. And timely, with something that we don't want a target date. It's something that we want to be ongoing, monthly or bi-monthly. The second is regular street watch patrols throughout the ward. So there's a couple of groups that are quite active, one on Bromford and one in Hodge Hill. So to carry on with what the good work that they've been doing, basically. And this is attainable. It's not impossible to achieve, and it is realistic, and just continue with the momentum, ongoing and monthly. And just and police attendance. So the third one is police attendance at ward forums to work with local residents and local elected members to address issues in the ward. Regular reports from police, including crime statistics in the ward, also regular written reports. But we've also I'll add into that the pop-up police surgeries. And what else? And speed watch. We've done that. So I'll add into that the pop-up police surgeries, possibly in conjunction with the mobile household recycling centres. That be throughout the ward. So yes, again, that is achievable, and then there won't be a need for the police to come to the bi-monthly ward forum meetings because that will be addressed at the pop-up surgeries. Okay, so that's that one taken care of. And anybody got anything that they'd like to add into that before we move on?
Can we add in the idea of having the pop-up police stations, please?
Yeah, that's all go to add in. I'll add in that. All right, nothing else? Okay, so next one. Bold and healthy, Bromford and Hodge Hill. Right, priority 4. Healthy lifestyle through exercise, healthy eating, to improve health inequality suffered by the residents of the ward. And who will own this priority? Local community groups, residents, and local elected members. Which organisations and groups do we need to engage with and or work with? So local GPs, sports groups, community groups. So what does good look like? Decreased levels of obesity, heart disease, improved levels of mental health. And how is that measurable? We would need to rely on data from the local GPs. Is it achievable? Yeah, it's achievable. Is it realistic? Yes. And timely with a clear timeline, including a target date. So I've suggested an annual review. That's something that we'd be happy with.
Yes, sounds all right.
Sounds all right. Okay.
I was going to add, Diane,
Yeah.
we've got, I'm speaking to the owner of the former neighbourhood office, and his
Right.
ambition is to, just subject to him getting the resources through, is to have a new surgery there, like GP surgery.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if we can include that anywhere here, because obviously that's all down to him. It's not something we can do. But I think around increasing the availability of GPs, because a lot of people in the Bromford do say that they don't have much access to.
Yeah, there is a desire for a GP surgery, like because they lost a GP surgery effectively when Warstone was demolished. So there's the desire to have a GP surgery is there.
So if we can add that into somewhere.
Okay.
Please.
Right. So we're happy with the timelines on those annual review on the decreased levels of obesity through healthy eating and decreased levels of obesity through exercise, which the new park initiatives will have a part to play in this. So if we go for an annual review.
Yes, Diane, that's
great. Thanks, Elaine. Right. And I think this is the last one, a bowl green, Bromford and Hodge Hill. So priority to protect our green spaces and encourage use and care by residents. Why has this been chosen as a priority? This has been chosen because of the request of local residents and residents groups. Who will own the priority? Local elected members, local residents and residents groups and local schools. Which organisations and groups do we need to engage with? So local litter picking groups and friends of parks groups. And what does good look like? Decreased levels of fly tipping and ASB, increased levels of usage of the spaces by the local community. So to set up 3 clear realistic goals we want to achieve locally. So establish a number of friends groups for our parks in the wards. Measurable, so 6 monthly reviews. Achievable, definitely. Realistic, yes. As a review, ongoing, I've put 6 monthly, but that can be increased to annually. It's up to the people here in the meeting.
I think 6 months might be okay, Diane, depending what if yeah.
Okay.
Then we can take it on to 12 later on, but 6 initially might be a good idea.
Move it to 6 and then see how it goes. So remove the use of glyphosate in the, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, glyphosate in the ward, which is a weed killer. So an annual review. I don't, Majid, if you can come in on this, if you might have a better understanding of the use of glyphosate, how this can be achieved.
Yeah, it's something that we're working on as a city council, and Bromford and Hodge has been chosen as one of the wards where we're going to pilot the no mow May, so there won't be any mowing of grass. And also, the ambition is to reduce the use of glyphosate across the city, not just the ward. So I think that would be a good one to have in. so that the city council know that we are serious about doing that.
Okay, and that will protect the bees and the wildlife and obviously protect the water of the chemicals going into the water table. Is achievable? Yes. Is it realistic? Yes. Ongoing? I don't know if an annual review is that too much, or would it need to be more often?
Annual would be fine.
Annual's fine. Okay. And maximise the use of our parks and green spaces. An annual review. Achievable, yes. So by this time next year, there should be a lot to report back on for the parks and green spaces. And is that realistic? Yes. So annual review, people be happy with that?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. And I think that's all of them. That's all. We haven't had any. There is space for others, but there's been no request for anything else to be included in the ward action plan at this point. But it's still open, and so there's time to get other items in there if necessary.
But also, Councillor, it's the working document. So as things pop up and priorities change or what have you, those can be added in because it's over a 4-year term, isn't it really? So
yes,
so things can be added or taken off as necessary.
Yeah, I can't see anything that would be taken off, but yeah, there's always the space there for things to be added.
Yeah, to be added up, absolutely. Okay, so shall I stop sharing now? Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
okay.
I think, and then I can send that to Elaine later.
Okay.
I'll just update a couple of things in there. All right, so with that, is that agreed?
Yes, great.
Agreed.
Great. Okay.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So that's the ward plan, and I'll circulate that later. And with that, we can move on to any other business.
Can I talk about? I've just had a phone call during this meeting. Somebody's just tried to break into a van in the Thistle House car park.
Thistle House car park.
Yeah, I've asked the lady who's reported. I've asked to speak to the tenant at the moment. They're going to call the police and deal with it.
Yeah.
Is anyone would have our cameras back? The council took it off us pre-COVID. Both blocks. There's nothing stopping anybody from coming into the blocks from playing with the cars because there's no deterrent. They know all the cameras have been taken down. Same with the kids outside Ambridge. Yeah, cameras. There's nothing there now.
Right.
So could be considered at some point in the
Something we
future.
can speak to housing about.
Yeah. Because it's.
Yeah, just on that, Diane, I did check when the cameras came down, why they were taken down. It wasn't just the tower blocks in our ward, but across the city. And it was something to do with the changes in the GDPR legislation. And I think the council's carrying out a review, but even if they're not, we can ask them after this forum, if you can just email housing to ask them what is the current position in relation to the cameras, because I agree with Elaine. We do need them back.
We need them, yeah. They're becoming hotspots, especially the garages around there. It's a regular hotspot for antisocial behaviour. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's something we can raise with housing.
That's great. Thank you both.
Thanks, Elaine.
That reminds me, Chair, I was just, Elaine, you jumped onto any other, because it's my fault as well, I was just eating. We need to, on the regeneration of the Bromford, we need to include the garage sites as well, because as you know, the garage site on Asham Close, Pancroft, that's a magnet for fly tipping. We had and under the ASB, we had the Love Your Streets team there last week carrying out some work. There's also a garage site on just off Shopton Road behind Broomdean Avenue and Enfield Road. So we do need a strategy in place, and I think it would be good if we invited an officer from housing in the future ward forum to discuss all of the garage sites, because there's even one on Folkestone Croft still being used as a fly tipping place for people. So do we need to review all of the garage sites, please?
Okay.
Well,
We'll get,
everybody, they do the
an
same
officer
as
to-
Majid. They're dumping stuff. A white van's been seen on a regular basis where they just dump stuff either by the gates or behind the bush.
Yeah, we had in Pancroft someone who's dumping tyres, and now they've dumped them by Jordan House.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you do?
So they're targeting our ward for some.
Seems to be. I know Shopton. I have family on Shopton Road, and I said it's been an issue up there.
Yeah, it has. Well, some action has been taken. It's an ongoing work in progress. That one.
That's one.
Okay. Right. Any other business?
I was just going to say, the victims of our own success, because we've had 2 meetings on the ward forum prior to, well, more than that, because if you include the fact that we've had the ward plan, some of it in place for the last 4 years, unlike some ward forums across the city. That's the reason why Old Hill Lane's attended today. I think it's because we had the meeting last time and people were agreeable to what we were doing and the plans and what we're envisaging. They just thought, well, is there any need to come to the meeting tonight? So I think the next meeting, let's try to get garage sites on there and something that will, or should we even have a look at changing the timings, like have an afternoon or
an afternoon meeting? That
daytime?
might be an idea. That might be. Okay, we'll try a different time. See how it goes.
And if your health is better, Diane, perhaps an in-person ward forum.
Yeah, well, I was going to come on to that because I can start doing live meetings in January when I can start driving again. And that brings me on to something else. I had a phone call today from a very happy resident of Hodge Hill Road, thanking us for the resurfacing of Hodge Hill Road. And I said I haven't had the chance to see it yet myself because I can't drive, but I look forward to the 7th of January when I can get out and see it. So, yeah, so
nice
things are looking quite positive, and there's we've had there's going to be a few bollards that put up on grass verges around, where there's a lot of illegal parking and that. So the budget is limited, but we're spending it all.
Why not?
We've had some bins put into Bromford North Park, and lots of trees have been planted as well in and around Bromford North Park as well. We're also getting some pedestrian islands on Stetchford Road. That work started. So you're missing out on quite a lot, Diana. I'm just waiting for you to get
I can't see anything. I'm just trapped at home. So January the 7th, I'll be out driving around having a look at everything.
Well, if you give me permission, I'm happy to take the photos on my own, but I've just been waiting for you to come back so we could take them jointly. But there's been quite a lot of work in the last few weeks. We've managed within the ward. No, we just need the police to agree to the pop-up stations, and then I think we're on our way.
Yeah,
absolutely. Badly needed, I think, at the minute.
It's always bad at this time of year, but I think this year is very bad. It's, well, with the crisis and everything, it's expected, but yeah, we need to look out for each other and just
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening, and I look forward to the next meeting. I'll send out. The dates haven't been agreed yet, but as soon as I've got a date, I'll let you know. We'll do that around I'll invite an officer to speak about the garage sites and see what can be done. All right. Thank you, and thank you, Beverly. Thank you for facilitating the meeting. And thank you, Majid and Elaine. Right.
No problem.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you soon.
Thanks, Elaine, and thanks, Bev.
Cheers. Take care, everyone.